Hello my friends, my name is Tim Johnson. I want to share some thoughts with you today about fear. Fear is something that can be extremely debilitating, as you're all probably aware. And it can stop you moving forward in life and progressing. I want to talk particularly around fear in addiction, actually stopping your addiction and the fear around that, and early sobriety and actually moving forward in your life. Fear is a primal instinct, and it's a very useful one because obviously in days gone by it kept us alive. You know, we have to have some fear, some instinct of fear within inside us, because how are we going to avoid dangerous situations if we don't have that? And that fight or flight instinct around fear in early sort of caveman days, if you like, kept us alive, and to a certain extent today still does in various situations. However, fear these days is something that is running along in the background all the time in most people. Because of the world we live in, most of it, the bombardment of bad news we get on a daily basis, media and the various things that are happening around the world at the moment can fill us with dread and fear. But fear is something that I experienced and can remember experiencing from being a very small child, fear and worry. And I think that it's something, judging from a lot of the addicts and alcoholics that I speak to on a daily basis, that is more prevalent in people who are addicts or alcoholics, if you like. It's something that they can recognize feeling from a very early age. And with me, it was a feeling of butterflies and adrenaline and worry running in my stomach, like a hole in the soul, if you like, that was there from as early as I can remember. And that worry meant that I didn't eat properly. I was constantly sort of biting my nails. I didn't mix properly with other people. I felt lonely in a crowded room was somewhere. I just felt different, without recognizing that was sort of fear driving me. There's an old saying which I've mentioned in other videos: many of the very worst things that happen in your life happen in your imagination. And that was certainly, and is certainly now, true of me. I can see the worst scenarios, in any situation. The default setting in my mind, if you like, will always sort of start painting pictures and jumping to the wrong conclusions. And because we're bombarded with so much stimuli these days and so much constant bad news and doom and gloom, and we're running on adrenaline, that fear, that painting of pictures and projecting into the future and looking at the worst scenarios is constantly running in the background, meaning that we're all stressed out. Basically, we're running on our fight and flight mechanisms and creating a fight or flight response, an adrenaline response, even when we're trying to relax, which is why a lot of people find it so difficult to sleep at night and switch off and unwind, and they have this feeling of dread that follows them around all day, even if they're doing a lot of the right things. Sometimes, it's important to recognize what's driving that and what's causing that. And particularly us addicts and alcoholics, we have fear going on. We run on fear. We ran on fear during our addictions, and sometimes we needed that fight or flight response in some of the situations that we got ourselves into. But we were frightened of everything, frightened sometimes of leaving the house without a drink or a drug inside of us because we couldn't blend in. We felt we couldn't operate without that drink or drug. And of course, when we took that first drink or drug, that meant that we can't stop. If you're an addict and alcoholic, once you take that first drink or drug, then you just cannot stop. It takes you. You become an obsession. and then you're back to fear, and that drives you back to drink. You know, just constantly, the circle you're going in all the time, driven by this this fear and dread. And also, you know, when we're sort of at the depths of our addictions, when we're approaching that rock bottom that everyone talks about, and for everyone it's different. You know, it can be, for me it was the worst scenario. I knew it was life or death, basically. And I remember when I first got sober, you know, after a long period of killing myself, you know, basically committing slow suicide in a dark room, that was when I had to make the choice, really. I had to find some hope from somewhere, you know, and I remember asking for help, you know, if there's someone listening to me. And for me, that, you know, I've always thought there was someone sort of looking after the world, if you like, not a God as I understand it, you know, an energy, and the energy of the universe, if you like. And that's my business, you know, and everyone has their own thoughts and beliefs on that. But I remember when I asked for help at that particular time, you know, and I knew that it was life or death. I knew I was dying, basically. That was that rock bottom, if you like. And I saw a quote, you know, and it just sprang up at me out of the page, and it's what brought me hope. And hope is what you need at that stage, you know, a little tiny glimmer of hope. You know, I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees, that quote said. And I sat on that for a while. Didn't really think about it a lot, but it wouldn't leave my head. And I realised I was living on my knees, and if I continued to do so, I would die. And, you know, that's where the glimmer of hope came from. But fear then arrived in bucketfuls, getting sober, you know, and the fear around that, you know, I paint in all sorts of pictures. Now, that fear can be based around your previous knowledge. You know, you can know what's coming and be frightened of that. For instance, with alcohol and drug withdrawal, you know you're going to have a period of hell. You know, and it is, you know, it is a period of hell. I'm just at this point now, I've got lots of videos on this channel about drug and alcohol withdrawal that go into great depths of how I got through those things in the many times that I've done them. Hopefully the last time now finished, you know, and I pray that's the case. But the fear around that knowledge, you know, it can be debilitating. It can stop you moving forward. It can stop you getting sober or attempting to get sober, because no one wants discomfort, you know, and everyone has a fear of pain, you know, whether it be physical pain, psychological pain, spiritual pain. No one likes it. No one likes to be uncomfortable. You know, no one likes to swim in those dark waters. There are only a very tiny amount of people that can manage to do that and dig themselves out of the shit that they're in, basically. That dark hole that you see no escape from. And you have to overcome that fear. I mean, there's the old cliches, isn't it, of fear, the spelling of fear. You know, forget everything and run, one spelling of fear. And face everything and rise, like, you know, is another way of approaching it. And you've got to face it. You have to, you know, if you're going to move forward, there's no escaping it. You have to step into your fear. You have to understand it and understand where it's coming from. You know, and in that case, you know, it's coming from the knowledge that you're going to have discomfort in your withdrawal. You're then going to go into early sobriety. A fear of being without the drug of your choice that has hidden you from your emotions and feelings and pain and fear. You know, because that was the case, it wasn't it? You know, you're taking that drug and alcohol to remove fear, dread, and all those other horrible feelings we don't like feeling. But to live life on life's terms, you know, to face life every day and live it on its terms, which you've got to do in sobriety, then you need to overcome that fear. You know, many say, well, how do I do that? There's not really a magic formula, I have to say. You know, knowledge is a good one. Knowing what's happening to your body during withdrawal helped my fear. Understanding where the pain was coming from. Reading up on as much of it. And I've shared that in those videos on this channel. And then facing that fear every single day, because it comes in waves when you get in early sobriety, massive waves, and it can drive people backwards. Because you've got to find new friends, you've got to find new places to go, you've got to fill your time that you spent, the hours and hours in a day you spent feeding your habit and being unconscious and doing whatever you're doing. You've got to find a way to fill that gap. And for me, finding a way to face that fear now, because there's no magical changes. My mind will still jump, if I don't watch it, into the worst scenarios. What helps me with that is being in the present moment and taking a deep breath and just saying to myself, in this moment, everything is okay, everything is good. And, 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10 it is. And that reassures me. Breathing exercises, that will help me immensely during the day. Correct diet is massive for mood and fear and all those things. If you're eating shit and sugar and all the rest of it, then that will affect your fight or flight responses, your adrenaline responses. You're drinking coffee all day, that will affect it. All these things are common sense, really. Exercise helps me because that just unwinds me and relaxes me. And I know it's releasing good chemicals. I know I'm doing a good thing with my body. And I had to find a way to face my fear of going back into the rooms. I go, it's no secret now, I attend meetings, I go into AA. And, it's been the saving of me, because what I've found in the rooms is connection. But I'm in Spain, and to make that step and overcome my fear of meeting new people, because I'm terrible in that situation, I'll always love being the centre of attention, but if anyone looked at me, I'd shit myself, I'd be frightened to death, which is a paradox, isn't it? But you find that with most addicts, look at me, and then when the people do, you panic, and that's why you needed that crutch of alcohol and drugs a lot of the time, and once you're on that slippery slope and you are an alcoholic, that one drink is going to lead you to blackness. You won't be able to stop. That's when you have to find strength, hope and courage, overcome your fear, take that step forward. And for me, that was, amongst everything I talk about on this channel, was making the step and going and meeting new people and stepping into the rooms and speaking my truth every time I go in there. And handing over control to something greater than myself. And that's my own interpretation of that, as it is for everybody who enters the rooms, your own interpretation of whatever that power is. I recognise that something has saved me along the way. 3 or 4 times when I've asked for help has magically arrived without me even realising it at the time. But when I look back, I should be dead. So I've always had no problem with believing in something greater. When I look at nature and a sunset, I always believe in something greater because it's there in front of me. So it was no trouble then. The trouble for me was handing over control, and that's the hardest thing for a lot of people. But once you do, then the fear dissipates. The fear of the unknown dissipates. You're being looked after, and that relief of handing over control of everything you can't control, which is everything. Handing over your self-will. Once you hand over your self-will, the fear disappears, the obsession disappears, and a massive relief will flood over you. That's not me preaching about it, that's a fact. That's what's happened to me and happens to thousands of others that go the same path. That is fact. Fear is something you have to watch for on a daily basis. Be the watcher of your thoughts. Switch off the bloody news. I know it's a horrible things that are happening in the world at the moment, particularly the war that's happening at the moment. It's disgraceful and disgusting. Abuse of power and all the rest of it. And it does make me angry. It makes me afraid. But I realise what my limitations are in dealing with that. And wherever I can help, I could help. And I will help, if I can. But there's so much that I can't control. But if I'm staring at the news every day and, absorbing what the media are telling me, which 9 times out of 10 is rubbish anyway, in every situation, then I'm not doing myself any favours with my fear. I'm just making it 100 times worse. So be the watcher of, what you take in, and that includes food, but but what you take in with people that you surround yourself with media, with your phone, with everything else, Facebook, all the rest of it. What you choose to take in is the way you react to things, and it can create massive fear. So the best thing to do is just ignore it, you know, and switch it off wherever you can, and help wherever you can. Realize what your limitations are. You know, you can't single-handedly save the world. You can do your bit. And if everyone did their bits, if you like, if everyone showed a bit of kindness, consideration and love every single day to another human being, then that knock-on effect of that would be so powerful that, you know, who knows what may happen. Anyway, that's a bit about fear. You've got to watch it all the time. Even if you're 20, 30 years sober, fear can still appear, as it does in normal day-to-day life for many, many people, and it can be debilitating. You have to learn that in many situations to step out of your comfort zone. To move forward, you've got to overcome that fear or step into it or get knowledge of it or watch for it. And don't paint no scenarios in your brain. Get into the present moment and take a big deep breath and realise that it is okay. And it's okay not to be okay as well. So, you know, don't give yourself a hard time. It takes time. And it's okay not to be perfect, because none of us are. And I hope that's been helpful for you. Carpe Diem. Seize the day today. Much love to you all. Peace and love. Thank you. Bye-bye.